Good afternoon on what is a grey, cold and overcast day. It's Tuesday the 25th of January. I'm back in the region with a nice hot cup of tea and this big pile of parcels. So obviously I've got this to unbox, but I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with this little thing. So sometimes you've got to be careful opening these parcels. You can cut your fingers. Okay, so what we have is this, which is the history of Malkionism. It's from Jonstown Compendium. So this is a RuneQuest role-playing in Glorantha settlement. A gloriously illustrated, I wish it was illuminated, introduction to Malkioni, the monotheistic sorceress nations of the Western Glorantha. This text was first published in Tales of the Reaching Moon 13 from 1994. The Go West special, the artwork was commissioned for this new Jonstown Compendium edition. Okay, so yeah, got a really nice piece of bright artwork on there. Actually, it's written by Nicke Brooke, but it is actually illuminated by Katrin Dirim. So we open up. Now, I have to be honest. We open up side. We've got the picture of the prophet Malkion, our solace. I don't know anything about Malkionism. It's not something that's ever featured in my RuneQuest games. I only have a limited playing experience. I've played Lunas. I played Morthcanths. I have played Trolls. But I've never gone that far west. But this should be an interesting thing to read. Here we go. A History of Malkionism was previously published in 1994 in the Sog City Conference Guide and in Tales of Reaching Moon magazine's issue 13, the Go West special. Like the abiding book of the Tristelli Godlearners, its text has remained pristine and unchanged from that day forth, despite the worst effects of accursed heretics and revisionists. The article was written as a crash course in Malkionism to enable the players in How the West Was Won, our 70-player live-action role-playing game, to quickly grasp the fundamentals of Western religion and history. It takes a deliberately neutral, mainstream perspective, which could be broadly agreed on by both the Hestroli idealists of Loscom and the Roskari realists of Sheshanala, the two dominant sects of Third Age Malkionism, while also introducing the major races and heresies of the West. For this new edition, I had the privilege of working with the brilliant Katrin Dirim, who illuminated my manuscript throughout with the original medieval illustrations. So there we go, there's the introduction. And it introduces the concept of the Kingdom of Logic, perfect realm that existed in the West before the Great Flood. Most of it is now beneath the Western Ocean. The last remnant was the island of Lost Brithos, now removed from the realms of men. And that's basically, as with the cover, we have an image from the Kingdom of Logic. And then, basically, going through the history here, we've also got the Ice Age. Was a time of terrible strife and destruction, which came up because mortal races abandoned their creator. And then we get on to Zezabor expels the Malkioni from Brithos. There's almost something childlike about the artwork, and I don't mean that in any pejorative sense, but in the depiction of the figures. But if you look at them, in sort of like as illuminated, almost as stained pieces of stained glass. They work very, very well. So here we have a depiction of the I Fought We Won conflict battle, and we have discussions of Solace of the Body, Seshneg, a kingdom founded by exiles who followed Malkion's new laws. Now I've done a tiny little bit of role-playing there. We didn't get very far, and it wasn't official RuneQuest, but nevertheless. We actually switched to landscape format rather than a normal portrait for discussion of the Brithini. I'll turn that back the other way. Again, Prince Cressor rides forth from the Golden Gate. So this has a certain, in comparison to your traditional Bronze Age Sartar and Dragon Pass, this has very much has a far more medieval feel to it, with the Prince Restor here, or a knight-white figure, and we have a priest or king there in the background, Malkion himself. It's actually King Froel or Froel. That there is a Slavic feel to it as well, with these towers and almost the onion style tops to them, and here Hestrel defeats the Lion Goddess. So that gives a very different feel and depiction of what you expect in Glorantha. Glorantha isn't all this on one thing of the conflict between the Lunars and Sartars. There's more to it, but you need to delve deep into that. And at the moment, that does mean delving into a lot of the back history of the books and so on, and exploring those. And they're not always available. You can find them, but again, they're sort of collector's items. This gives you something that's a bit more accessible today, and explores a very different kingdom and culture. And here we have the Sealing of the Serpent, the Tomb of the Serpent Queen. These are fantastic illustrations, I have to say. And then we go to we are introduced to the Waratagi. And they claim to be descended from the bastard son of Malkion the Founder and a mermaid. So the kind of often the weirdness you get in Glorantha is still there, very much so. And here, in the illustration, we have the false god Gabaji the Deceiver poisons Tanisor. So an illustration on every other page. It's fantastically well presented and illustrated, certainly far more than the original articles would have been done in Daidashi of the Tales of the Reaching Moon, and also probably far more so than the basically the primer that this would have served in the LARP that the author Nicke Brooke ran. Anyway, our cat recounts this the Brithini way. And then here he is banished by the Gurland Flame Song. And then we go to the Stygian autarchy or the Dark Empire, where anything Stygian is dark. And then we have encounters with trolls there, or Uz. And then again, these fantastic images. The abiding book is revealed to the Justrelli god learners. So, if you're interested in sort of like in expanding your view of Glorantha beyond the current focus, then a book like this is interesting. It's not yet explorable or playable in terms of the game. It doesn't support that yet. It may well do in the future, and there is content out there that you can find, but it's not necessarily canon. And here we have a great bloody battle, or flaming battle, the Battle of Tanyan's victory. And this book would essentially, as I say, serve as a primer to, introducing you to the Far West. And here we go, we have the God Learners in the Middle Sea Empire. And the downfall of the God Learners. Basically, the God Learners essentially can be best described as really working the system of hero quests, and learning all the ways of the gods, and that just wasn't on, as it were. And here we have the introduction of the Videli. And the prophet Hestrol, our joy. And a bit of an autobiography, basically just a bibliography of about the author, and about the artist as well. Rissa Arkat, the traitor knight. So yes, do you need this at all for your Glorantha game? Not at all. But as I say, if you're interested in learning a bit more about the world, expanding your horizons beyond Sarta, beyond the Dragon Pass, then perhaps this may well whet your proverbial appetite. So that is History of Malkionism, composed by Nicke Brooke, illuminated by Katrin Dirim, available on Jonstown Compendium. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please click the like button down below. And of course, you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a parcel and a book, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. No cat who that is not ours at the moment. Then of course please do click the subscribe button. Finally, I want to thank Neve for lending me this to unbox, and thank you again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.